Hey YouTube, Canadian Prepper here. Just got a video today and it's regarding prepping for the construction, the reconstruction of society versus prepping for the destruction of society. And I want to post a disclaimer right from the get-go that this is not a gun bashing video. I believe in the possession of firearms as a means of defense. Mostly from government, but also as a means to defend ourselves from I guess just threats. So I'm not anti-guns by any mean. By any means, I endorse the preparedness of that, and I endorse people. I encourage people to prepare in that respect. But what I want to talk about is, well, there's a variety of things. I just want to start off by saying that you have certain people in the YouTube community, and I suppose this is sort of a critique somewhat of certain individuals who project this image, this personality that's fixated with weaponry. And I'm not sure why, there's this fixation with weaponry. I mean, I know it feels very... Shooting a gun makes a person feel very powerful. It perhaps makes them feel more powerful than they are without it, obviously. But many people seem to fixate on this too much, and at least that's what it appears by looking at their channels when 9 out of 10 of their videos are about guns and how to, just different things that might relate to firearms. And my guess is that, and this is just a theory, that if your fixation is 90% weapons before SHTF while the grid is up, why should we believe that you're going to be all of a sudden focused on the reconstruction of society and that you are not going to be a liability yourself? I mean, think about it. If you spend most of your time in preparations focused on weapons, and just really think about this for a second. Every video this person posts is about, faster reloading, or, how to clean weapons, or, how to store ammunition, or this, that, and whatever. Can you really expect that person to be virtuous when it all goes down? You can't expect them to be focused on rebuilding society when shit hits the fan, because they're going to basically have this arsenal of weaponry that when their supplies run out, they're probably going to want to use, or they're going to feel justified in using. Now, I'm not saying all people are like this. Like I say, some people might just project that image on YouTube, and behind the scenes, they, spend most of their time doing other things. The way I see it, there's two kinds of tools. And I discussed this on a video by General S. Lee a few weeks ago. And that there's tools of destruction and there's tools of construction. Many people in the prepper community are focused on tools of destruction. I'm not saying most. I'm not saying, I should say that many people project the image that their personality is fixated on tools of destruction. They call it a means of self-defense, but I question that whether or not they have any intent at all of rejoining society or working towards the reconstruction of that society if their full fixation is weapons. You have some preppers, and I suppose they cross more so over into the homesteader and maybe even a bit of survivalist, but who are really focused on reconstruction and are focused on the other aspects of prepping, like Southern Prepper 1, like the guy down at Green Power Science who's trying to work on different ways of harvesting renewable energy from parabolic mirrors and solar power and things of that nature. They're focused on the rebuilding of society. Some people do this. Some people are thinking about how can we provide water to our community? How can we provide a large enough water filtration system? And how can we manage sewage for our community? How can we irrigate crops? Perhaps how can we devise a barter system, a market? How can we work the land together? Because many people know that the more people you have working on something, the more efficient their production is going to be than were they just to work by themselves, isolated from one another. That you're going to get more bang for your buck if you put your man hours into a community project. So for instance, in spring, you only have so much time to rototill the soil and get the crops in the ground. Well, if you have more people working on that, you're potentially going to get more food. So these guys who are, doing this John Rambo, John Wayne, G.I. Joe type fantasy, they're promoting that sort of, full on tack vest type, I'm going to go and survive, quote unquote, the people who are promoting that, how can they be trusted to really be more moral and virtuous? They're no doubt sanctimonious, because I'm sure most of them, from their perspective, feel that they're fully justified in being entirely fixated on just that. But I mean, think about that. When you say, I love guns, what does that mean? You love shooting things, okay, well, it's okay to, to have target practice as a hobby, but if you're to the point where you love tools of destruction, what does that make you as a human being? It's okay to use them as a means of self-defense, but do you really love them, or do you just love the feeling of being John Rambo? Do you have some sort of inferiority complex? I mean, these are things that a person has to think about, I suppose what I'm trying to say is that, look at what YouTubers are saying, look at their actions, I should say. And if they're fixated on something now, chances are they're going to be fixated on that later. I mean, I don't know how they couldn't be. How can we expect that people who prep out of fear of others are going to promote love? Because really that's what separates us from the animals, is our ability to work with one another on a large scale. A pride of lions, I think, is, there's probably some other examples in nature, but as a developed carnivore, there really isn't many other certain apes, I suppose, but, our ability to not only network as a tribe, but between tribes and between regions and provinces and nations and internationally as well, that's a human characteristic. We can't live out of fear. We can't prep out of fear. So, I guess, and another thing, this idea that people are going to be able to just kill people, even in self-defense. People have talked about this before on YouTube, this notion of, I'm just going to go and blow anybody away who comes at me. You got guys coming back from Iraq, post-traumatic stress disorder, shell shock, or whatever you want to call it. That's something which is mentally debilitating, the idea that you're just gonna start, you know, fanning the hammer and blowing away anyone who comes through the door and maintain some sort of, you know, some sort of normal way of being is profoundly naive. But we're all going to be faced with that choice if and when it does happen. I mean, the purpose of prepping should be to rebuild society. Because if we can't do that, then we're going to exist forever in a dog-eat-dog medieval system where every person is for themselves and the last 1,000 years have been for nothing, you know? I don't know. I'm really starting to focus more on community building, and I really think that the prepping movement is evolving, and I think it's evolving more towards that end of not just me and my preps, but my community and our preps. That doesn't make you a communist, you know? If anything, the elites in our society are the most communist of all because they actually work together. The oligarchs work together to plutocrats, whatever you want to call them. They work together to secure their power because the owner of Facebook knows that the owner of NBC and that the owner of Lockheed Martin, and they need to work together by using media and this, that, and whatever to keep the public relations all in check. And but I kind of digress. But I mean, what's going to happen when a prepper who's holed themselves in and their family, because, you know, everybody wants to protect their family and not anybody else's family because they're, you know, I mean, obviously we have to prioritize our love, our investments. What happens when your kids want to grow up and procreate? They're going to need another community. They're going to need another family with enough genetic, you know, distancing that, you know, they can have a healthy child. So we're not going to hold ourselves in forever. It's not going to be, I mean, it could very well be a Mad Max type scenario, but there's going to be that phase, perhaps, and maybe even for as long as a generation, depending on the severity of the event. Chances are it's going to be an excessive rule of law imposed after some large-scale pandemic, but that's just neither here nor there. That's just a theory. But were it to go the route of total societal breakdown, there would be that period of anarchy, which would be followed by a feudalism, and then, you know, possibly progress back to what we have today. But hopefully it's more, you know, hopefully it's much more just, and everybody's taken care of. So self-defense, I agree, it's essential. Guns are essential, but beware of people who make it their primary fixation, because a lot of that is motivated by fear and fantasy. Focus on people who are talking about how to thrive, how to, you know, survivalists have their place, you know, but after a certain point, it becomes a question of thriving, not just surviving. And that's where the homesteaders, that's where the scientists, even some of us perhaps who, you know, just sit around and talk about ideas and exchange ideas and think, you know, just thinking in general is what separates us from animals. So anyways, that's all I got today, folks. Please comment, like, subscribe, share if you will. I want to send a shout out to my 18 subscribers and humble beginnings. You know, it's been slow going so far, but I expected that much. I don't want to, you know, my intention is not to become huge and, you know, do stuff like that. I would like to build a, you know, a nice size viewership, but I don't want to. My purpose is not to make money off this, just to exchange ideas and learn more. And for those people I am subscribed to and who watch these videos, please continue to make your thoughtful videos. I really enjoy those. You know who you are. Yeah, and that's all I got for now. There's going to be a lot more videos coming up because I got a lot of ideas. And we'll talk to you soon. Canadian Prepper out.